The entertainment industry is such an interesting one. There seems to be a common misconception that once you land a role in a movie, your career is set. But as we know, that's not the case at all. In fact, sometimes the opposite could happen, and one role can actually derail the trajectory of your entire career. Other times, you made enough of a name for yourself in the industry that, regardless of how many bad movies you do, people still keep supporting you. Maybe it's in hopes that one of these movies will really show the actor's true talent. Maybe they genuinely are interested in the movie. Either way, today on InformOverload, we're counting down the top 10 incredible actors who keep doing bad movies. What's going on, guys? I'm your host, Bronstein, and as you know, I love me a good actor's top 10. Today we're talking about some of the industry's best who, for some reason, keep getting attached to projects that generally aren't received so well. Now, I will say this list is based on reviews and ratings from the likes of critics and the general public. And although some of the actors on this list may have had a movie or two that really wowed audiences, with one even getting an Academy Award. If one of your last 10 films wasn't so great, well, something's gotta give. A friendly reminder to stick around to the end of this one for some common replies, but for now, let's just jump right into it. At number 10, Jim Carrey. Now, it is fair to say since 2016, the only movie credited on his IMDb page is Sonic the Hedgehog, which received okay reviews, coming in at 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. It seems the majority of the reviews were just happy to see Carrey back on the big screen, talking about his performance. However, prior to this film, things weren't looking so great for Jim, who is a known funny man in Hollywood. After transitioning into more dramatic, serious roles, it seems the two just weren't a good fit, at least in the public's eye. Now, as an actor, I'm all for doing the roles that get you fired up and excited to act. That's what it's all about. So I feel that's what Jim did, and I respect him for it. The entertainment industry, on the other hand, just cares about how much money they can make off you, and considering how a lot of Jim's films prior to Sonic, including Dark Crimes, The Bad Batch, Dumb and Dumber 2, as well as Kick-Ass 2, all received very negative reviews, well, things weren't looking great. But hey, Jim seemed like he enjoyed Sonic, so hopefully we get that goofy guy I grew up watching again sometime soon. At number 9, Johnny Depp. One of my favorite actors. I've always loved JD, but it seems the guy hasn't attached himself to a hit movie in more than a decade. I thought the latest Pirates movie was great, but apparently critics didn't think so. Black Mass was a good one for the guy, but every other movie really didn't seem to bode well. You'd think attaching himself to a J.K. Rowling project prior to all the controversy, that maybe that could help the guy out. But the reviews for Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald just wasn't it. Now, with that being said, it's important to keep in mind all that Johnny has been through over the last few years. His highly publicized court case with ex-wife Amber Heard is likely a big reason why he hasn't been able to awe us with performances we've grown to know and love from the guy. Moving on to 8, Adam Sandler. Aside from Uncut Gems, the guy really made a name for himself for making flop after flop. Murder Mystery, Sandy Wexler, The Do-Over, there's also The Cobbler and The Ridiculous Six, with the latter scoring a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which truthfully I didn't even know that was possible. It's no secret that Sandler also produces a lot of his own films, and a lot of the times, as we saw in films such as Grown Ups and Paul Blart Mall Cop, it seems Sandler just likes to make movies with his friends. Rob Schneider, David Spade, Kevin James, and Chris Rock usually come to mind, which just so happens to be the main cast of Grown Ups. But I think after showing the world what he's really capable of with his performance in Uncut Gems, he simply just shut up all the critics. Don't be surprised if he goes back to making the more kid-friendly, fun, and lighthearted films produced by him with his friends starring. I won't lie, if I could, I'd be making movies with my friends all the time too. Up next at number 7, John Travolta. This one's tough because I was a big fan, and growing up, I've been told I look like him, so it hurts my ego even more than it should. But that's irrelevant, I guess. Remember how I said I didn't realize a 0% Rotten Tomatoes rating was possible? Well, Johnny here really upped Sandler because his last 5 movies all somehow miraculously managed to get a 0% rating. The Poison Rose, Trading Paint, Speed Kills, Gotti, and Life on the Line were just flop after flop. Prior to Life on the Line, Travolta got praised for his role in the film In a Valley of Violence, but prior to that, he had 3 movies with awful reviews, none of them even managing to reach a 50% Rotten Tomatoes score. Now, it's fair to say Rotten Tomatoes isn't the only critic or rating to go by, but to no surprise, for the most part, all the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes are consistent with the other reviews, and it's not good. Moving on to 6, Gary Oldman. It's important to remember the title of this list, Incredible Actors Who Keep Doing Bad Movies. Gary Oldman is probably one of my favorite actors as well, although it's not something I actively think about. He truly is an incredible talent. You likely know him as Commissioner Gordon from Batman, or maybe you recognize him from Planet of the Apes. He recently won an Oscar for Best Actor in 2018, portraying Sir Winston Churchill in the film The Darkest Hour. But it seems these incredible performances from Oldman get buried underneath all the films that tend to go straight to video on demand. In fact, since appearing in the 2014 film Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Oldman's only film that was well received was the one he got an Oscar for. It's no doubt this guy is an incredible actor, but it seems he just doesn't know how to pick out films that are going to be liked by audiences all over the world. Now, halfway at 5, Eric Roberts. If you don't know the name, you likely know the face, and if you don't know the face, odds are you just don't remember seeing him in a film. With 583 acting credits to his name on IMDb at the time of this recording, which means it's possible he's done plenty more and just wasn't credited for it, possibly having a small part, it's next to impossible not to have seen this guy before. He's currently got dozens of films in post-production or currently filming, yes, dozens, and it seems he's not slowing up anytime soon. Being the brother of Julia Roberts, you'd think maybe the two of them would have similar mindsets, but it seems Eric is just happy to act regardless of the content. To no surprise, a lot of the films he's been in are barely reviewed because, well, there's just so many. But truth be told, considering how the majority of films he's in go straight to on demand or DVD, well, I think it's quite evident the man isn't starring starring in hit after hit. Now that's not to say the films that go straight to demand are bad. I've actually seen plenty which are amazing, but at the rate Eric does films, I'm gonna say every film he's a part of isn't a fan favorite. Moving on to 4, Clive Owen. It seemed this man was destined to have the career your typical A-lister has. He could do it all, play the romantic, but also turn on that scary yet intelligent mastermind like he portrayed in Inside Man. By the way, fantastic movie, so shout out Inside Man. He also starred in Sin City, Children of Men, and was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in the 2005 film Closer. But since knocking it out of the park with those hits, it seems he really hasn't been able to get it together since. Although some of the indie flicks he's done were well received, the more mainstream stuff that you'd see in any old movie theater, well, you definitely can't say the same. In fact, out of his last 15 or so films, only 3 were well received, and with his latest film being Gemini Man and The Song of Names, which didn't do all that well, I mean, it's kinda sad. Still, the guy can act, he's got a TV series currently filming, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him transition onto the big screen again soon. At least hopefully. At number 3, Taraji P. Henson. Don't get me wrong, she kills it on Empire, and she's finished filming for the animated Minions movie, The Rise of Gru, in which she's the villain. Still, when it comes to her most recent film projects, they were unfortunately not well received at all. Coffee and Kareem, The Best of Enemies, What Men Want, and Tyler Perry's Acrimony just really didn't do it for audiences, and it clearly showed in the reviews. Still, like all the other actors on here, we got good actors just unfortunately aligning themselves with bad films, and whether that's their choice or their agent's choice is yet to be determined, but at some point, you gotta hold someone accountable. Number 2, Adrien Brody. His performance in The Pianist and Grand Budapest Hotel were phenomenal, but unfortunately some actors get hot for a few movies and then just fizzle out. The guy's talent is definitely there, and I'm not sure if it's the projects, the directors, or what, but it seems for whatever reason he hasn't had a hit in years. In fact, it's been quite the opposite. His 2018 film co-starring Bruce Willis, Airstrike, got horrible reviews, as did Bullethead. Manhattan Night was also a bust, and even his 2015 film with Selma Hayek didn't bode too well. Now, considering how the majority of these movies didn't seem to get much promotion, it may be a blessing in disguise, because in the industry it's better to disappear for a while and make a comeback instead of doing flop after flop trying to make a comeback. And if no one knows he's really doing these movies, well, he just kind of disappeared. Of course, number 1, Nicolas Cage. Now, to say this man is an incredible actor who just can't get those hits would be an understatement. I know people make a meme of him, but if you haven't seen that movie Face Off with Nick Cage and John Travolta, do it. And there's a reason why they're both on this list, because they're both great actors that just star in bad movies for some reason. With the exception of Color Out of Space, it seems Nick Cage has spent the last few years starring in poorly received thrillers that barely get a rating on Rotten Tomatoes. However, as you may or may not know, he's been cast to star as Joe Exotic in a mini TV series, so maybe that'll be just what the guy needs to really turn his film career around. And there you guys have it for the top 10 incredible actors who keep doing bad movies. As always, I love to hear your thoughts, so please sound off down below. For now, let's play out some comments from the video. Karen, who refused to wear a mask in Starbucks, wants barista's tips. Alejandro Rodriguez said, if you have a medical breathing condition that doesn't let you use a mask, why would you go out in the middle of a pandemic that affects your breathing for a coffee? I actually didn't even think about that when I was in the video, and it's actually a very good point. Like, if she's that concerned that she can't wear a mask because she has asthma and she gets mask acne and all these horrible things that, you know, that her chiropractor apparently said she has breathing problems, why go out at all? If you know that this, you know, the virus is out there. I mean, she didn't deny the virus, she just said the mask doesn't do anything. So why would you go out? Iris said, does she even have a real legal case? The money was raised by an outside person, not Lennon. I don't think there's a case. Even if Lennon raised the money, there is no case, because they're not slandering her name. They're not saying she did this, she did that. I mean, they are, but there's evidence of it. There's a video of it, and she even posted on Facebook what she did. So it's not slander. Like, they're not making money off of her. Someone, like you said, it's just tips. Like, no one's saying you're owed this money. They're just saying, here, it's a donation. It's a donation. So there's no way. There is no case. She's not obligated to anything because they're not donating to her. They're donating to him. Vicky Brown said Amber could cover her mask acne with a mask. Problem solved. Yo, that's a burn if I've ever seen one. My hand hurts now. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. I've been your host, Jared Bronstein. You guys have been watching I.O. We'll see you in the next one.